Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Forensic Focus. I am your host, Charles Amodio with FAZ Forensics. At FAZ Forensics, we specialize in business valuation and forensic accounting. At FAZ Forensics, when answers matter, FAZ delivers. Today, I'm here with my colleague, Neil Eisgruber. Neil, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Thanks.
What's going on? What's new?
Just starting here at FAZ. I've been here for a few months now and getting adjusted, getting to know the team and learning how things work around here. So it's been a great transition and a good start to my year.
So, Neil, just so everybody knows, you're in the DMV. So, why don't you tell us a little about the DMV? And I got that right?
That's right. The DMV is the shorthand for the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So I'm kind of situated between Baltimore and DC. I've been here for most of my life, both my working and college career.
Okay. Okay. And where'd you go to college?
Started my undergrad degree at Virginia Tech, and then got my MBA at University of Maryland.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. And so when you as far as like college is concerned and things like that, what was your major in college?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a non-traditional path here. My undergraduate degree was in computer engineering with a minor in computer science. So then I went to work for a firm doing computer software design for a number of years. Was tired of what I was doing there and went back to school and got my MBA. So I focused in finance when I was getting my MBA.
Okay. Okay. I know when you said you went to Virginia Tech, I knew there was a more of a more of a engineering type school, right?
Yeah, it was full. Started as a general engineer, and then after my first year, moved into computer engineering.
Okay. Nice, nice. And that kind of ties into like, I guess the computer engineering maybe ties into some of the things that you do now. I mean, obviously you specialize in IP work, right? IP damages, IP valuation.
Yeah, that's correct, Charlie. So the work I do now is, like you said, focused on intellectual property, and a lot of times that has to do with cases that have a technology aspect. So, for example, one of the cases I did was with a company called Independent Software, and as the name of the company states, it's a software company. So just having that background and that base understanding of how things work really feeds into my practice and feeds into how I work.
Okay. Great. Great. And why don't you give me, give me some like, give me an example of a type of a case that, type of a case that you've worked on in your career on IP damages or intellectual property.
Sure. So the most notable case that I've ever worked on was the Apple versus Samsung case, and here again ties into my technology background. In that case, it was early on in my career, and I was supporting another expert, and we were calculating damages for patent infringement, trademark, as well as trade dress infringement based on Samsung stealing Apple's intellectual property. So that trial was a huge trial with a really large verdict, and it was just a great way for me to again use my background and kind of apply some of those concepts and into the understanding of the technology that was being used.
Interesting. Interesting. And how long did that case go on for?
Well, if you count all the appeals, it went on for years.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact timeline, but yeah, that case went to a trial, had a jury verdict, and then there were years of appeals afterwards that were
Okay.
affecting the verdict in different ways. So I think it went from $1 billion verdict down to 600, $700 million verdict.
Okay. Okay. So we're talking about a mega case over there.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Sure. Okay. Okay. What other types of cases have you worked on?
So one of my more recent cases was a case that kind of combined intellectual property and then employment claims. So it was a case where some individuals left a construction company, and the company did construction remodeling work mainly for storm damage. So it's mostly insurance claims. Uh, Group of individuals left that company and started a competitive business, and in doing so, also stole trade secrets on their way out the door. So this is kind of a combination of a business lawsuit or contractual lawsuit with intellectual property claims. In that case, I was testifying on damages, both on lost profits and then the value of the trade secrets that were stolen. Um, and ultimately, it went to a trial, and I was working for the plaintiff in that case. The plaintiff had a big win for over $6 million.
Wow. Okay. What are some of the challenges with those cases? The intellectual property cases.
Yeah, intellectual property cases. So there's kind of two major areas that I've worked on cases, patents being one, and then trade secrets being the other. There are also cases in trademarks and copyrights, but we don't tend to see as many of those. Um, so I'd say in patents, the case law is very settled, and there are very specific things that you need to do. You need to follow certain rules, certain case law in calculating, lost profits or a reasonable royalty. So for example, if you're doing a reasonable royalty, you're going to follow the Georgia Pacific case, which sets out a number of factors that you have to follow in determining a hypothetically negotiated license between the two parties. So that's one side, the patent side, where it's just very specific, very buttoned down as far as what you have to do in the case law. On the other side is the trade secret claims, and the case law is kind of more evolving. Um, so I think it's really interesting just to keep up with how things are changing there and what the courts are allowing as far as damage calculations. But there's a little bit more flexibility in what you can do on a trade secret claim.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And what do you like about these types of cases? Obviously, it's an area that's you specialize in, so you must like this type of work. What do you like about the intellectual property cases?
Yeah, I think really to me it's interesting to dive into the details and get an understanding of what the products are you're dealing with. So maybe if it's something covered by a patent, you really have to get an understanding of what the product is and how the patent covers the specific product. Um, so for me, it's just that diving into the details and getting an understanding and then figuring out how to apply financial concepts to those constructs.
Okay. Okay. So outside of intellectual property cases, do you work on any other types of cases?
I'll work on just general contract disputes, business losses, maybe business interruption claims, things like that. So general commercial disputes as well.
Any interesting cases that you've worked on in those types of cases?
Well, like I said, the one that I spoke about before was combined some claims of breach of contract, breach of non-solicits. So that was a good one that combined both aspects.
Okay.
And again, it was a business claim where people left and broke their employment agreements.
Interesting. Okay. And how was your transition been to FAZ?
It's been good. Excuse me. It's been a really smooth transition. It's been we have a real small tight-knit group here. I'm coming from a much larger firm, so it's exciting to be a part of a small agile group and get to know everybody a little more personally here.
Good. Good. Okay. What are you reading right now?
So as part of my transition, FAZ is working on building their company through the entrepreneurial operating system, which is EOS. So I'm reading a book called Traction, which explores that method of building your business and running your business, just to get a better understanding of how the company here is running and what our goals are for the future.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. What do you like to do outside of work?
So I have three young children, ages 11, 9, and 7, which keep me busy most of the time. They're all very active with sports and dance and various activities. So spending a lot of time running them around, being on sports fields with them, and just being a part of their daily lives and having a lot of fun there.
So what sports do they play?
My 11-year-old daughter, is a lacrosse player, and also dabbles a little bit in soccer. My 9-year-old plays or is a dancer, so is a competitive dancer. And then my 7-year-old splits his time between soccer and baseball.
Nice. Nice. Did you play any sports growing up?
I did all those same sports, soccer, baseball, lacrosse. Never at a super high level, but always at a recreation level, and always enjoyed them growing up.
Okay. Okay. What made you choose Virginia Tech?
So I knew when I was coming out of high school that I was going to go into some form of engineering.
Okay.
I went to tech. I basically went down on a campus visit there and fell in love with school. I love the outdoors, and being in Blacksburg, it's just up in the mountains in a beautiful setting, and it's a top tier engineering school. So combination of those things made it a great fit for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been there. I've heard great things about it. I've known people that have visited that campus and they say it's amazing.
My 11-year-old daughter, we took our kids, we were driving past Blacksburg and we stopped in at one point and just showed them around the campus. We're telling stories from my wife went there as well. So
Oh,
telling
okay.
stories from our college careers and my 11-year-old is now convinced that she's going to go to Virginia Tech too. So it's a great place. Hopefully we can carry on the tradition.
So you met your wife there?
I did, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. And what's one thing that everybody should know about you?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes into my kind of career path, right? Is that I just love getting into the details of things and learning about what I'm doing. So whether it's like, engineering and diving into learning my coursework, or whether it's getting into a case and diving into details and making sure I understand all the aspects of a product or a patent or a trade secret. So really, I think for me, it's just that curiosity and how I just like to get a deep down understanding of everything I do. Um, and even that carries over into my life with my kids. I coach my son's soccer and baseball team, so I'm constantly researching and trying to find activities for them to do and ways for them to improve their skill sets. So I think just love digging in and love finding learning new things.
That's great. So is your son, is he a lot like you? Is your daughter's like your wife? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my oldest daughter is a lot like me.
Okay.
Kind of have the inquisitive background, love diving into things. She's very kind of technical and hands-on and mathematical. So I think of the three, my oldest is probably the most like me.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Excellent. Well, Neil, that's all the time that we have today. Just want to thank you for coming on the program, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Charlie. I'm looking forward to what the future brings at FAZ.
Absolutely.